If you are like me and you have a hard time climbing hills, either because of your ability and your power or your weight, which is the issue for me, well, I have the solution for you because I'm going to talk to you about what I consider to be the best gravel bike transmission setup in 2026. For me, the best gravel drivetrain is actually not a gravel drivetrain. It is actually the SRAM GX T-type transmission for mountain bikes. And let me tell you why I think it is the best setup you can have on your gravel bike. You see, my Trek Checkpoint Gen 3 SL5 came with the Apex XPLR drivetrain from SRAM. That was a 40-tooth front chainring mated to an 1144 cassette at the back. That gave me an okay climbing ability on the bike. It was better than a 1-for-1 ratio. So having ridden that setup for a couple of thousand kilometers, I had a major issue. I had a really hard time to climb steep hills. And I mean hills that my buddies would climb without a problem. Why? Because they are way lighter than me. They have sufficient power to do it and all that stuff. Well, my issue is that I'm pretty heavy. I still have a good FTP. I'm pushing about 275 watts, 280 watts as an FTP, but I weigh a lot. So that slows me down when I'm trying to climb hills. That's my challenge. So if that's the challenge for you, here's the solution. Now, what's fun with SRAM AXS is that everything is pretty much compatible together. So what I decided to do is change the derailleur and the cassette at the back to allow me to have a way better climbing ability. That rear cassette is a 1052-tooth cassette, which gives me an awesome climbing ability even with a 40-tooth chainring at the front. Now, what I love about that setup is that I have a 10-tooth cog, so even at high speed, I can still put some power down, but I have an amazing climbing ability. The GX flat top chain and the way the cage is designed on that derailleur, it actually helps to shed mud and clear out debris. And that's something that's very important because we've seen it in the Unbound 2026. A lot of riders hit some sticky mud and their chain kept dropping off because their chain and their drivetrain would just collect the mud. What I love about this setup is that my chain stays very clean. Also, my drivetrain stays clean and there's less noise and less issue with drop-off chains or skipping gears because there's mud or debris in my chain or my derailleur. Because installing a transmission type drivetrain from SRAM on my gravel bike asks for a UDH mount, and my Trek Checkpoint Gen 3 SL5 is UDH, while you remove the derailleur hanger. So you're bolting on a more robust derailleur. So that means if you're hitting rocks, scuffs, and stuff like that, that GX derailleur will be better at taking the abuse than my SRAM Apex or SRAM Force or SRAM Red in the 12-speed Explorer drivetrain. I'm not talking about the 13-speed Explorer drivetrain, but the older 12-speed that used a derailleur hanger. It is so strong that you can actually stand up on the derailleur on the side of the bike. We all know that while we're pedaling and we're riding in gravel, we will not always be in the right gear, and sometimes some hills will surprise us, or we're climbing a hill and we get a little shot of fatigue and we need to shift and we are under power. Well, the transmission drivetrain from SRAM allows you to shift at any time under full load power. You shift whenever you want and that drivetrain will take care of you. There won't be any gear crunching, there won't be any noise that will get you nervous when you're shifting under load. This is a very important and beautiful aspect of this drivetrain. Another thing that's awesome about this drivetrain is that it is very rebuildable. You can actually take a lot of parts off the derailleur and change them, be it the cage, be it some guards on there, and all that stuff. With that derailleur being so rebuildable, you can actually mod it in a very good way. And I'm actually thinking about doing that because you can buy the bottom cage of a higher end derailleur to have the magic pulley system. And what that does is if a stick goes into the pulley wheel, well, the pulley wheel would just keep on turning. Although it's not the most affordable drivetrain setup, I still think that it is the best for gravel. Like I said, you have amazing range, you have serviceability, you have a drivetrain that sheds and clear muds, a drivetrain that is robust, and also a drivetrain that works well under power. I don't see what else you could ask from your drivetrain. Be it lighter, you can do that with SRAM. You have the options of buying very expensive derailleur and cassettes and even some new levers if you want to make your bike super light. That's up to you. For me, doesn't bother me that much because the first place I have to lose weight is not on my bike, it's on my body, and that is for me to deal with. The reason I want to do this video is because drivetrain is something we talk about often on gravel, and I've been using this particular drivetrain for a couple of months now. I already have a couple of thousand kilometers on it, and it's been flawless. And I wanted to share the news because a lot of people are asking, what can I do to get a better drivetrain because I need more climbing ability? You have this drivetrain example that you can set up, or you can go with a smaller chainring, but the issue with a smaller chainring is that you lose a lot of top speed. I've been there before because I've actually ran a 36-2 chainring on my 1044 cassette that I used to run before this new drivetrain setup. And I have to say that this new drivetrain setup is the one that I want to keep on all my bikes, which means even my next gravel bike will come with a 42 chainring and a 1046 cassette at the back because it is the rival 13-speed setup. Well, that setup will probably not stay on the bike because I will upgrade it to the GX T-Type because I love having that range to go up the hills and keeping all my top speed when I'm riding on flatter surfaces or going down the hills. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments on the YouTube channel. Also, if you want to see more videos of this type for gear breakdowns, reviews, tire tech, and all that stuff, well, I'll invite you to subscribe to the channel. It is free to you, does magic for my channel, and helps me out, so thank you for that. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed the thrill of your rides.